this recording. All right, so this is the exam 3 review. I've been having some technical problems with my tablet, so I'm recording this on my desktop, so that's why it probably sounds a little different, as well as why I will not be writing on any of the slides. But this is the exam 3 review. So exam 3 is 11:23. It's going to be from 9:30 to 1 p.m. So same duration as previous exams. And in fact, a lot of the exam is set up the same. So again, calculators are used. The equation sheet is up now. I will probably be updating that over the next couple of days as I make sure I have all the equations that we need on there. I still haven't written Monday's lecture yet, so it's a little hard to figure out exactly what we're going to be covering. Have whatever you need for writing and erasing purposes nearby. Again, individual exam, you can't work together. Show your work, true, false, multiple choice, same page is okay. Problem solving on individual pages. You don't have to print your exam. Again, just make sure it is legible one way or the other, whatever you happen to be doing. So in general, you guys have been doing a pretty decent job on that still. On the last exam, some people did get a little disorganized. So if you find that you're running out of space on the page and you're going to move it somewhere else, please draw an arrow connecting the one point to the next point so I can follow your work a little bit easier. You can also make it so that if you have parts A and B, maybe you box all of A together, you box all of B together, and so forth. It just helps with the formatting in both paper and digital ways, such that it is a little bit more legible. Again, it's going to be 7 true, false, 7 multiple choice questions. This is referred to as conceptual later in the stuff. 3 problem solving questions, 20, 20, 25 points. Please, again, this last exam, in general, a lot better with showing partial credit work. So again, writing out your knowns, unknowns, what you think the starting equation or equations are, drawing a picture. I know with this material, especially since some of it is a little more abstract out there, you know, with the simple harmonic motion and stuff, not as, I don't want to say it's not as clear, but it's a little harder to visualize. Writing all this stuff out is definitely beneficial. And again, if you are showing or you're working through the question, show more work so I can figure out what is happening. If you just have an answer and there's no work, I can't give you any credit. You will just receive a nice 0 for that. So let's talk about the course outcomes. We're at the point now where we have kind of started revisiting a lot of ideas. So we've revisited forces for charges now. We've revisited motion for, instead of being a linear thing, a rotational thing. Same with momentum and energy. We're looking at vectors again with forces with Coulomb's law. Appropriate skill sets for forces, motion, momentum, and energy. So it's probably likely you're going to have something related to forces, motion, then momentum or energy associated, you know, I'm not going to tell you exactly what, I mean, the forces one, probably can figure it out. Motion, you might be able to guess what topic it is. For rotational motion, it will be either momentum or energy based, probably. And then we'll do a little bit of critical analysis between calculus and physics, but that's going to be in the conceptual portion of the exam. None of these topics on where we are really lend themselves to good questions at this level, just because at this time you probably either are just starting to see or haven't quite seen it yet in class, the integral. And that is pretty much all we've been dealing with this past time since the last exam. So as per usual, we're going to go through the chapters, what to study and what to ignore. So for chapter 4, just focus on the circular motion part. So being comfortable going between linear and rotational variables. Know how to use kinematics for non-uniform circular motion. There will be no projectile motion, so this is just the new material for chapter 4 that we covered. 12, don't worry about calculating the center of mass or how to calculate the moment of, it should be inertia, not inertial. Let me really, do I have a pen on this version? I don't have a pen. Ignore this. We're not going to be calculating these. You will be provided the table for moments of inertia in the equation sheet. Understand what the center of mass is, but it's not something you're going to have to calculate. Be able to do rotational energy, torque, and rotational dynamics. Static equilibrium will only be in the conceptual portion of the exam, so don't stress out about studying that. Rolling, we really only focused on in terms of rotational energy. So these two we covered together in lecture. And then for angular momentum, being able to use both angular and linear or translational momentum at the same time. Chapter 15, simple harmonic motion for a spring. We are just going to be focusing on the horizontal situation. I know vertical is the same, but there's a lot better questions, at least in the textbook, for horizontal motion. If there's a pendulum question, it is going to be in the conceptual part of the exam. Chapter 16, we didn't actually cover a lot of this particular chapter. So, wave equations, what are the two graphs called? The history graph and the whatever the other graph are, just ignore those. The only thing I kind of want to focus on, and again, this is going to be in the conceptual part of the exam, sound as a wave, light as a wave. So nothing too deep in that. Then skipping to chapter 22, this is the material we've been covering this week. Know how charges interact, so positives with positives, negatives with negatives, positive with negatives. Know how to utilize Coulomb's law. I know we didn't talk about them in class, but anything from 22 section 1 really, so the theoretical, what are the charges, but not the charges type stuff. Obviously, anything we didn't cover in chapter 22 is also not on the exam. Same is true with the other chapters. If we didn't cover it, it is not on the exam. For chapter 23, this is our electric field stuff. If you watch, I guess depending on when you watch this, that lecture is already live, just whether or not you've watched it. So electric fields, so kind of understand the models and field lines. So this is drawing the electric field for a point charge conceptually. Again, not going to be something you're doing for big points, but for a point charge, you might have to calculate the electric field at a given location. We didn't cover all of section 3, so ignore those other sections. We're not going to talk about the electric fields of continuous charge distributions. There are other sections in the chapter that we are ignoring as well. For chapter 27, this is the lecture that is right before the exam. As per usual, if you see anything from this chapter, it's going to be in the conceptual portion of the exam. So what a current it is, what conductivity and resistivity are, Ohm's law, all of that could appear in the conceptual portion of the exam. Very small amount if it does show up. If it shows up, it will probably be this thing right here. We're not going to be covering anything after section 5 before the exam, so don't worry about that for the exam 3. All right, so that's going to wrap it up for the exam 3 review. If you have any questions about exam 3, let me know. The review questions are already posted, so feel free to just check those out. The solutions should automatically be posted Thursday at 2 p.m. If that is not the case, please harass me. I will be checking, but there's a chance that I just assume they go up live and I am unaware that they actually don't. So yeah, so that's for exam 3. Again, if you have any questions, let me know.